The Sun Does Shine, Chapter 6, The Whole Truth. They sent me to Kilby Prison to finish out the weeks. I had left on my parole when they arrested me. It was a way to buy some time. I guess get their ducks all in a row. I had barely had a moment to speak to my mom and to Lester. The phones were never free, and collect calls were expensive. This is all a mistake, I said when I finally got a hold of them. We will get this sorted out. Once I have an attorney and explain everything, they will realize they have the wrong person and let me go. I was reassuring them and telling myself. At least I thought when this was cleared up, I would be totally free once and for all. No more parole, no more checking in every month, no more chance they could just swoop me out of the house because I was in the system. I did my few weeks at Kilby and returned to Jefferson County to wait for my time to go before the judge. I was indicted by a grand jury on November 8th, 1985. My face was all in the local newspaper. People wanted to string me up, shoot me outright, and save the taxpayers some money. And this was all before I even stepped foot in a courtroom. Bef- Before I had been appointed a public defender and before I was even able to say not guilty at an arraignment. My case was assigned to a judge on November 13th, 1985. His name was Judge James S. Garrett. I met my court appointed attorney, Sheldon Perhacs. He was only a little shorter than I was, around 6 feet or so, but he was lean and muscular. He wore his hair slicked back like he was some sort of Italian mobster or maybe even a boxer. I had seen all three Rocky movies, and the fourth one was just about to come out. At my arraignment, he barely looked at me. He was officially assigned my case, and I heard him mumble, I didn't go to law school to do pro bono work. I cleared my throat, and he looked at me in the eye for the first time. Even though I was handcuffed and chained, I held out my hand to shake his. Would it make a difference if I told you I was innocent? Listen, all y'all always doing something and y'all saying you're innocent. I dropped my hand, so that's how it's going to be. I was pretty sure that when he said all y'all, he wasn't talking about ex-cons or former coal miners or Geminis or even those accused of capital murder. I needed him, so I had no choice but to let it slide. I had to believe that he believed in me. He was my Italian fighter. He was Rocky, and I was Apollo Creed. Not like in the first movie, but in later movies where they're allies, friends even. I had only seen the trailer for Rocky 4, and I wanted to think of perhaps training earlier in the morning, running up the courthouse steps, drinking raw eggs while he read through all tall stacks of case files and left no stone unturned in his investigation. It gave me comfort to think of him this way, to pretend that he believed he was in the fight of his life, fighting for my life. It wasn't until about 10 years later that I would actually get to see Rocky 4. It made me glad that I hadn't known that Apollo Creed died in the movie while Rocky stood by and watched. The judge set a trial date of March 6, 1986. I turned to Perhaps before they took me back to C Block. Give me a lie detector test, a truth serum, hypnotize me. Whatever you have to give me that will show them I'm telling the truth. I don't know what it is. I'll take it. I'll do it. This whole thing is a mistake. I'll take any test they have to prove it. He just stared at me and then he waved his hand in the air like he was swatting away a fly. I'll come see you at the jail soon. We'll talk about your case, I promise. I held on to that promise like a drowning man hangs on to whatever he can grab that he thinks will save him. Confidential. Date 5/13/86. Subject Anthony Ray Hinton, SSN, Mr. Sheldon Perhaps, Attorney at Law, Suit 1414, City Federal Building, 2026 Avenue in Birmingham, Ala 35203. At your request, Anthony Ray Hinton was given a polygraph examination to determine his truthfulness in a case of kidnapping, attempted murder, and murder. Standard polygraph procedure was exercised throughout the examination. Results. During the pre-test interview, Anthony Ray Hinton stated that his address is Burnwell Avenue, that he was born 6156 in Jefferson County, Alabama. Subject is a 29-year-old man, 6'2", 6'2" tall, 220 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Subject said he has a high school education, is single, and has no dependents. Subject said he was convicted in 1982 in Bessemer, Alabama of theft of property. Also was convicted twice in Bessemer, Alabama in 1982 of auto theft and was sentenced to 15 months and placed on 1.5 years of probation for those three convictions. Subject said he had been convicted in Bessemer, Alabama of several worthless checks and was paid the fines. The subject went on to say that he has never shot anyone and has never robbed Quincy, Captain Dees, or Miss Winers. The subject insists that he had nothing to do with the crimes in question and doesn't know who committed the crimes. The subject was then asked the following relevant questions. Test 1. Do you plan to try to lie on any of these questions? No. Have you told me the truth the whole entire time about this matter? Yes. Do you commit any Did you ever commit an armed robbery? No. Did you ever point a gun at anyone? No. Did you ever shoot anyone with a gun? No. Are you trying to withhold any information about this matter? No. Test 2. Do you know Miss Winters was going to be held up? No. Did you plan to hold up Mrs. Winters? No. Did you ever point a gun at anyone in Mrs. Winters? No. Did you ever shoot anyone in Miss Winters? No. Have you told the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie to any of these questions? No. Test 3. Did you know Mrs. Winters was going to be held up? No. Did you plan to hold up Mrs. Winters? No. Did you ever point a gun at anyone in Mrs. Winters? No. Did you ever shoot anyone in Mrs. Winters? No. Have you told me the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie on any of these questions? No. Test 4. Did you plan to rob Quincy's? No. Did you tell Mrs. Smotherman to open the safe? No. Did you point a gun at Mrs. Smotherman? No. Did you shoot anyone in Quincy's? No. Have you told me the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie on any of these questions? No. Test 5. Did you plan to rob Quincy's? No. Did you tell Mrs. Smotherman to open the safe? No. Did you point a gun at Mrs. Smotherman? No. Did you shoot anyone in Quincy's? No. Did you shoot Mr. Smotherman at Quincy's? No. Have you told me the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie to any of these questions? No. Test 6. Did you know Captain D's was going to get robbed? No. Did you point a gun at anyone in Captain D's? No. Did you rob Captain D's? No. Did you shoot anyone in Captain D's? No. Have you told me the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie on any of these questions? No. Test 7. Did you know Captain D's was going to be robbed? No. Did you point a gun at anyone in Captain D's? No. Did you rob anyone at Captain D's? No. Did you shoot anyone at Captain D's? No. Have you told me the whole truth since we've been talking? Yes. Did you purposely try to lie on any of these questions? No. Conclusion. It is the opinion of this examiner that the polygraph subject told the truth during his polygraph examination. Polygraph examiner Clyde A. Wolf. I knew I had passed the polygraph. I heard a female guard talking to the examiner while I waited to be brought back to C block. How do you do? The examiner hadn't said much to me, but he spoke to the guard. If I could go by this test, he would walk out of here with me right now. He showed no signs of deception. He didn't do it. He doesn't know anything about these murders. I can tell you that for a fact. She's sort of running in agreement. You know, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I've seen a lot of killers. He's no killer. I went to sleep that night with new hope. I didn't know my mom had been able to come up with $350 for the polygraph test, but I knew that as soon as I was out and could get back to work, I would earn enough money to pay it back. Every day felt like being in the middle of a bad dream. I kept thinking they would catch the person who really did it. It was like the police and the judge and the prosecutors and even my mom, even my own attorney were in on some bad practical joke. And I was just waiting for them to tell me they had been punking me. When the guard next called me out for a legal visit, I thought perhaps was finally there to tell me I could go. It was straight out of John 8:32. And the truth shall set you free. He had only visited me a couple times in jail, but he had given me his phone number and said I can call him whenever I wanted. That was more than most guys in C Block got from their court-appointed attorneys. He and Bob McGregor had made an agreement that whatever happened with the polygraph test, whatever the results, either side could use the test to argue this case. If I failed, McGregor could use it to convict me. If I passed, perhaps could use it to prove my innocence and show them for once for all they had the wrong guy. I hadn't worried about making that deal. I knew what the results would be. They're not allowing the polygraph. Bob McGregor nicked on the deal. I watched as perhaps mouth kept moving, but it sounded like a swarm of bees had gathered in my head. I couldn't hear anything he was saying. Betrayal felt like ice under my skin. I had went cold and numb, and then it felt like those bees in my head were stinging every part of my body. This was real fear, I thought. Of Lester and me diving into the dishes when we walked home, I thought this was what fear felt like. Your heart pounding and your breath going fast, but this was different. This was ice and steel and 1,000 blades carving you up from the inside out. I couldn't make sense of what was happening. They knew I didn't do it, but they were still going to make me take the trial. They were willing to let the real killer go and pin this on me. I had perhaps walk me through it all again slowly. All the bullets from the 2 murders and the Quincy's robbery matched my mom's gun. I knew this was impossible because the gun hadn't been fired in 25 years. Our neighbor had been there when the police went back to get the gun for my mom, and she had seen the detective put a cloth inside the gun. And when he pulled it out, he said it was full of dust and he hadn't fired. and it hadn't been fighting in a long time. Some other men had picked me out of a foot alignment and said I was the guy who robbed him and shot at him. I was at work when this happened. I was signed in. I couldn't understand how they were just ignoring this. There's no way I could have left work at the beginning of my shift and robbed somebody. Also with other people. My supervisor gave me assignments all night long. How could I be two places at once? I asked perhaps. What are they thinking? That's not even possible. There was a guard. I had to check in and out. They're going to say you snuck out, you drove to Quincy's, and you robbed him. Perhaps rips his hand through his hair. That's impossible. When we're at trial, can we ask the judge to have the jury drive the exact route at midnight and see what time the time frame won't work? I can't be in two places at once. Did you drive the route? It's not even possible for me to clock in, get my assignment, and get back to Western in a few minutes. It takes at least 20 or 25 minutes to get there. Drive the route. Can you get an expert to drive it? Clock it? Did I prove it? My voice was getting louder than I wanted, but I needed him to see this logically. I couldn't be in two places at once. There was no way that could happen. I clocked into work and 10 minutes later was a half hour away robbing somebody. We can show them there's a 15-foot fence I would have to had climbed and show where the guards are at and how you have to log in and account for your time the whole shift. So what? Now I have a lawyer for a client, perhaps said. Slowly, I got the message loud and clear. Let him figure it out. Let him put on the defense. I was just supposed to sit back and be a good boy and not make any trouble. What choice did I have? I left it off, but I had to say one more thing. I've been reading the papers. You see there's been other holdups, other managers getting robbed at closing. I definitely can't be doing that while I'm in here. Yeah, I'll look at it. They're only paying me $1,000 for this. And hell, I eat $1,000 for breakfast, he laughed, and it wasn't funny. The other big obstacle was finding a ballistics expert. We needed someone to look at the gun and the bullets and get up there and testify. I knew the state was lying about the bullets in my mom's gun, but it wasn't like a judge or a jury was going to believe me. Porkhops had told me that the only thing keeping me from a good defense was money, and then he asked me if I had anybody who could pay him $1,500 to do the work. Nobody had that kind of money. I had been shocked my mom came up with a lot of detective money. I told him that much, and then I pleaded with him. I promise you that once you prove that I didn't do this, I'll get out, I'll pay you. You have my word. If I have to work night and day and holiday and weekend, I will pay you. Please, I was begging, but it didn't matter. Anthony, it just don't work like that. What proof do I have you will pay me? You don't have money to hire me, and besides, I was appointed this job by the court. You can't pay me. He had been struggling over finding a ballistics expert. The court was only allowing him $500 for each capital case to hire an expert, and he couldn't find anyone to do the work for $1,000. He had until August to find an expert, and it wasn't looking good. It turned out that 1,500 was also the number that would give me a good expert. 15,000 was also the number that would give me a good expert. Everything depended on those bullets, since they had no other evidence against me. No fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. Because I had an alibi for the night of the murders, because I couldn't account for where I was, that made me guilty. That and the bullets. They weren't even charging me for the smuggling me case, only using it to prove I had done the other two because it was similar plan and design. That was the magic phrase. But I read the paper every day. There were robberies of similar plan and design happening every week in Birmingham. Perhaps made it clear that my only shot was an expert who could counter the state's expert. I hadn't wanted to, but I called my other brother Willie in Cleveland and asked him for the money. Can your attorney for sure get you off if you hire an expert? I don't think he can say for sure. Well, I need to talk to him. I need some assurance the money will put it into this. I need him to give me a guarantee so I'm not wasting my money. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no, so that was something. I tried not to dwell on the fact that if things were reversed and I had the money, I had given it no questions asked. Perhaps wouldn't give him that guarantee. Who in their right mind could make any guarantee like that? I knew my brother was raised like I was, raised to trust the police, the lawyers, and the judge. He was an upright citizen, never had any trouble, and never wanted any. I like to think he didn't help because he knew I didn't do it and believed the courts would provide everything I needed. My heart broke when Perhaps told me that Willie wouldn't give the money. I would have moved heaven and earth to help him or any of my siblings in the same situation. That's what you do when you are a family. It's what you should do. It would be almost 30 years without seeing or hearing from him before I could come to the accepted truth. My other brother must, in some small place within him, have believed that I was a killer. There are families of sinners and families of saints, and all are deserving of love and help. The sinners even more than the saints. It hurt inside to not have his help. It was like everything good was being taken away, one small chunk at a time. Belief, family, truth, faith, justice. I wondered who I would be when this was all over. How could I be the same person? Would there be anything left after this trial? And what if they found me guilty? What then? Nobody believed me, and some days it felt like the whole world, except for Lester and my mom, were conspiring against me. Sometimes late at night, I would lie in my bunk and think about the trial to come and imagine the jury. Were they going to be against me too? Were they really fair and impartial? I could feel the paranoia seeping around the edges of my mind, fighting to get in like a poison gas slipping in through the vents. I willed myself to think of other things, but there was a darkness pushing up against my hope that I couldn't keep at bay. I knew my last and only and best hope was going to be my attorney. He held my life in his hands because it became clear that this wasn't about them having the wrong guy. They weren't making a mistake. They were setting out to send an innocent man to death row, and they were willing to lie to do it. I made sure to call perhaps later that week just to tell him how much I appreciate him and how great he was doing. He was my only voice, and I needed his voice to get loud in that courtroom. I needed him to show the jury the truth. Show them who Anthony Ray Hinton was, a boy who loved his mama, who grew up in a community that loved him, a man that had never had a violent moment in his life. I was a lover. I was a joker. I was a man who would help anyone who needed help, not a man who would hide in the dark to take your money and your life. Not a cold blooded killer. I wasn't that man. I wasn't.